The words hit like a fist to the gut, stealing my breath. "You'll be a father again," Sarah said, her voice soft, trembling with a joy I hadn't heard in years. Her hazel eyes sparkled under the dim glow of the kitchen chandelier. But my smile froze, jagged and wrong. "Funny," I managed, my voice a hollow rasp. "I haven't touched you in months." The air thickened, the hum of the refrigerator suddenly deafening. Her face didn't crack. Not a flinch, not a blink. Just that serene smile like she hadn't heard me. But I saw it. The flicker in her eyes, a shadow darting across still water. We stood there, the oak table between us littered with takeout containers from dinner, soy sauce staining the napkins like blood. My pulse thrummed in my ears, a drumbeat of doubt. She was radiant, her cheeks flushed, her hands resting lightly on her stomach as if cradling a secret. A secret I wasn't part of. I wanted to laugh, to shake it off as a bad joke, but the weight in my chest wouldn't let me. "Sarah," I said, sharper now, "what's going on?" She tilted her head, her auburn hair catching the light, and murmured, "What do you mean, David?" "I'm pregnant. We're pregnant." The word we felt like a blade twisting. I sank into the chair, the wood creaking under me. My mind raced, replaying months of distance, her late nights at the office, her sudden trips to clear her head. The way her phone stayed face down, buzzing with messages she never explained. I'd chalked it up to stress, to the grind of her new promotion at the law firm. We'd been married 10 years, weathered worse storms, losing our first child, my layoff, her mother's illness. But this was a fault line splitting our life apart. "Sarah," I said again, my voice low. We haven't. I couldn't finish. The accusation hung there, a live wire sparking. She laughed, a brittle, nervous sound that didn't reach her eyes. "David, don't be ridiculous. You're tired, you're misremembering." She moved toward me, her hand outstretched, but I flinched and her fingers froze midair. The kitchen smelled of garlic and regret, the clock ticking above the sink like a countdown. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. I wanted to rewind to an hour ago, when we were just eating lo mein and laughing about our daughter Lily's latest obsession with dinosaurs. But her words, "you're misremembering," felt like gas poured on a fire. I wasn't misremembering. I knew every night we hadn't touched, every morning she'd slipped out of bed before dawn. "Tell me the truth," I said, my voice cracking like ice underfoot. Her smile faltered just for a second, and I saw it again, that shadow deeper now, like a bruise spreading beneath her calm. She turned away, busying herself with stacking plates, her movements too precise, too controlled. "There's nothing to tell," she said, her back to me. "I'm pregnant, David. Be happy. Please." The plea in her voice was real, but it wasn't for me. It was for the lie she was holding together, fragile as spun glass. I stood, my chair scraping the floor, and crossed to her. I didn't touch her, but I stood close enough to feel the heat of her body, to smell the lavender in her shampoo. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice a whisper, raw and trembling. Her shoulders stiffened, and for a moment she was still, too still, like a deer caught in headlights. Then she turned, her eyes wide, glistening. "How dare you?" she hissed, but her voice shook, betraying her. "How dare you accuse me of something so vile?" The words were sharp, but they crumbled at the edges, and I knew. The next days were a slow unraveling, each moment taut with unspoken questions. I watched her like a detective, hating myself for it. The way she lingered over her phone, her thumb hesitating before swiping away notifications. The way she avoided my gaze at breakfast, stirring her coffee too long. I found myself digging, checking her car's GPS history, scrolling through her emails when she left her laptop open. Each clue was small, deniable. A vague text from Mark work about meeting up later. A receipt for a coffee shop she'd never mentioned. I told myself I was paranoid, that love meant trust. But trust was a house of cards, and hers was collapsing. Lily became my anchor, her giggles a lifeline. At 6, she was all questions and wonder, oblivious to the storm brewing. One night, as I tucked her in, her stuffed triceratops clutched to her chest, she asked, "Why's Mommy sad?" My heart lurched. I brushed her curls back, forcing a smile. "Mommy's just tired, sweetheart." I lied, the words sour. But Lily's question gnawed at me. Sarah was sad. Not guilty, not defensive, but sad. It made no sense, and that scared me more than anything. The truth came on a Thursday, rain hammering the windows like it wanted in. Sarah was late again. Her excuse about a client meeting thin as tissue paper. I waited in the living room, the TV muted, the glow casting shadows that danced like ghosts. When she walked in, soaked and pale, I didn't ask where she'd been. I just handed her the phone bill I'd found, buried in her desk drawer, calls to the same number every night for weeks. "Who's Mark?" I asked, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. She froze, her coat dripping onto the hardwood. For a moment I thought she'd lie again, but then her face crumpled, and she sank onto the couch, hands covering her eyes. "It's not what you think," she whispered, but the words were hollow. She told me about Mark, her colleague, her confidant during late nights at the firm. She swore it was emotional, not physical, that she'd been lost, lonely, that I'd been distant too. But the pregnancy, she couldn't explain it, not fully. She stammered about a night she couldn't remember clearly. A work event, too much wine. Her tears were real, but they didn't reach me. I was drowning in my own anger, grief, betrayal. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I just stood there, numb. "Why didn't you tell me you were unhappy?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the rain. She looked at me, her eyes raw, and said, "Because I didn't want to lose you." The irony burned. She'd lost me anyway, not because of Mark, but because of the lie she'd let fester, the child that wasn't mine. The twist came later, after days of silence, when she showed me the ultrasound. The dates didn't add up. Not with Mark, not with anyone. She'd been pregnant longer than she'd admitted, from a time when we were still us, before the distance grew. "A lab mix-up," she said, her voice desperate. But the doubt lingered, a poison I couldn't purge. I looked at her, the woman I'd loved for a decade, and saw a stranger. The truth was a wound, and whether it was infidelity or a cruel trick of fate, it didn't matter. The trust was gone, and with it the life we'd built.